Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And today we are talking Zach Snyder's Army of the Dead. But before we do that, a word from our sponsor.
Pow!
Yeah,
that's
Kapow
it. That's
Comics.
the word. It was one word actually from our.
That is the one.
Yeah.
They're located on 4047 East Keel Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. Check those guys out. They have some great comic books. They got some great collectibles, and they have some special guest appearances throughout the year. Go check them out. If you like comic books, the things that we talk about on the channel, it's a good place to stop by. Anyway, we're talking Army of the Dead.
I'm sorry.
I won't lie to you. I'm kind of getting tired of it. Yeah. I'm a little tired of talking about Zach Snyder. Aren't you?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yes. I think especially because once we get to it, once we start digging in, sorry, I'm trying to get my freaking light to adjust so I'm not super okay, there we go.
Say you look out as fuck.
Yeah, I fixed it. All you podcast listeners will appreciate that moment.
They will.
I'll as a slight preview, a lot of my complaints here might sound familiar if you listen to the Superman or the Justice League review, or yeah. I mean, there's just some things that that are just becoming like expected with a Zack Snyder movie. I feel like in a bad way, a bad way, and it does feel like kind of having same conversations about different movies almost sometimes.
No, I mean, funny enough, I'm wearing an Army of the Dead hat right now, and you may think to yourself, "Man, he really likes Army of the Dead." And the truth is, my Cinemark rewards were expiring, and so I got a free hat, and it came into the mail today. And I said, "Look at that, perfect timing! We're doing a podcast on Army of the Dead." My Zack Snyder's Justice League hat that I did order because I did actually want that. It's still in the ether out there. It's been to Texas, been to California. I've been on the DC shop for a while. So if you're listening, DC shop, get my hat back to me. I don't know.
Of course they're listening. I mean, that's not even a question. And we know
that's really our fan. It's really just all of our fan bases.
Jeff Johns is listening right now. And he won't admit it, but you should, Jeff. Bastard.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking Army of the Dead. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. That way you're up to date on all future episodes of Podcast 2 for 1, as well as the cool content we have at 2 for 1 Studios at youtube.com/2 for 1 Studios. All right. Let's talk Army of the Dead. So weirdly enough, we have 2 Zach films coming out within a couple months of each other. We know the Zack Snyder story. We've been talking about it ad nauseum as well as the rest of the world. But we do know that like a year and a half ago or so, Netflix announced a partnership with Zack Snyder to make Army of the Dead. We do know since then that they were at least confident in it enough that they have already ordered a prequel, or at least a animated series, and they have already in the process of shooting, if they've not already finished, a prequel movie that kind of takes one of the characters in the film. I can't remember which one right now, but it kind of shows how they get from A to the point we see them in the movie.
Is that going to be Zach again on that one?
No, it's a different director. Zach has already come out and said that he loved making this one. He already knows exactly where he wants to take the next one, and he also they have ideas, and apparently some things that come out today saying that Netflix will be having some news about Army of the Dead in June. But that could be about the cartoon, but we kind of suspect that it could be about a sequel. We don't know yet. But let's kind of go into this. This movie has at least the biggest star that I know is Dave Bautista. Yeah. And it's also got my boy, I can't think of his name. He plays the guy who hires them. He's great. He was also
from lots of things.
Yeah, he was Scorpion in Mortal Kombat just recently.
Yes.
He's great. Anyway, I can't think of his name. We're great podcast hosters. But anyway, this Zach's been saying for a while, like, this is one of the easiest concepts that he has ever pitched. And for some reason, Warner Brothers didn't ever want to make it. And he was like, man, it's like a slam dunk. And, I do think on paper, when you see the trailer, it is a slam dunk. And I think actually, like, in maybe any other filmmaker's hands, maybe it is. And maybe well, and that's not even
I
fair.
mean, it is a little. It is a little. There is an air of this that, like, the concept on paper, I agree, is good, and if you just kind of, not formulaically, but a little bit more formulaically approach it from like a Hollywood style filmmaking,
right?
I think you get better than this. I feel like this again suffers from what I think a lot of Zack Snyder's material does, is trying to inject emotion into what should be like a fun action flick, right? Like this should be Ocean's times Dawn of the Dead, basically, right? Like that's like on paper what the pitch should be.
Yeah.
But it's not that. But it's not that. You know, it's this well, we can get into it more, but yeah, I completely agree. I feel like if you put this in the hands of, you know, not an auteur, someone that can just kind of, you know,
I don't know,
do a more basic
as
telling.
I said that. Look at this. I mean, let's say you just said Dawn of the Dead. That was his first movie, Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
And it's like, it's pretty much critically acclaimed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like in terms of horror, among horror enthusiasts and just people who like, you know, the original X, Y, and Z, everyone really likes it. I mean, and I remember, I'm not a huge just zombie guy in movies, but I remember being like, that's a solid horror film. And then he made 300, which is kind of a really solid action movie. And you can't deny if one thing he does typically well, like in Sucker Punch and Batman v Superman, all these movies, is the action. So it sounds like he is the perfect director ever to make this movie.
Well, and I'll say 300, I think is probably my favorite of his. And I think some of the things we're going to bring up as problems, I think work in 300. That just aren't, it just feels like there's a bit too much copy paste in terms of style, where he's approaching every film, doesn't matter the context or the cast or the genre, he's still going to do his Snyderisms that don't always match, but I think they do work in 300. No, sir, but not to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I will say that let's just kind of back up a smidge, because I think, again, I watched it a couple of days ago and I actually talked over it quite a bit. So I probably think I missed some things, but I'm going to kind of give you at least the bare bones plot for the people who maybe have not seen it or don't know about the movie. It's pretty simple. So we have a zombie outbreak near Nevada, Las Vegas. It ends up infecting Las Vegas because that's the most populated area in the region that the zombie outbreak happens. The United States quarantines off Las Vegas, and then there ends up being, through diplomatic channels, the decision to wipe it off the face of the earth. Well, before anyone could get out of Las Vegas, there's a lot of money there, right? They left it because people were dying, X, Y, and Z. So they're hired by this guy corporation. I honestly don't even know. This guy formulates a mercenary team to go in, get the money right before the nuke happens, get out, and then they all get a payday. It sounds like, I mean, really, like, even just like, I didn't have to think too much about it. The plot is pretty simple for the most part. And honestly, it's a really fun idea. That's an amazing idea. Like, I will give you that. I
think it's a really nice, fresh, you know, it's a nice, fresh zombie film in terms of concept, right? It's not, we're not trying to end the outbreak. We're not trying to prevent the outbreak. We're not reacting to it. It's just, it's like, okay, it happened. Let's tell an interesting story inside of a world where this happened. And I liked that. I liked that the zombies, the infection, whatever, wasn't the focus of the film. Like, that's not the point of it. So yeah, I agree. On paper, good to go so far.
Yeah. I will say that, just think, I mean this seriously. I've thought about it more in the last 5 minutes talking to you than I have during watching it and since I watched it.
Which is somewhat of an indictment.
I checked out watching it, but as I'm listening to you and listening to myself talk, I'm like, okay, I can kind of start seeing some of the wheel spin and kind of start seeing its faults more, and also what I would have done at X, Y, and Z. So obviously they put this team together, And we know that Batista
Yeah.
is kind of the main one, right? Like he's the main actor that they've cast for this film. He's in the front of every poster.
I was
And-
surprised there weren't any other actors I could recognize. Like barely any in
Right.
this movie. I knew Bautista, but I was thinking surely there'll be some like other kind of your typical action film, you know, with such a big cast. But yeah, like pretty much none of them I knew.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
Dave,
I've seen a couple in various things, but no one that I knew the name of, like Batista.
No.
So anyway, and they all kind of have their emotional thing. The big thing being typically they want to go in and get paid and get money.
Sure.
They all have their kind of different quirks. They're different. They all represent a different perspective or a different type of humor or action or what X, Y, and Z. And we know ultimately that Dave Bautista is wanting to go in to get money for his daughter. And we know that he had to kill his wife during the pandemic because she became a zombie. And so he decided to put her down in the midst of the action happening. And he feels guilty from that. So he is trying to get X amount of millions of dollars. He's going to give it to his daughter. And it will be almost like a penance for him. Like, well, if she don't love me, then X, Y, and Z. And I think that's fine as far as motivation goes.
But is it? Because he was killing his wife because she was about to turn or she had turned. And so his daughter's upset. At the same time, she's also accepting and living in this world where she realizes once people turn, you have to kill them, right?
Well, to be fair, that's brought up directly at the jump ahead. She was saying, in which she said that I'm not upset with you at all about killing mom. I'm upset that you didn't reach out to me afterward. So your criticism is voiced in the movie. I do think that the criticism, or sorry, I do think that the explanation given where she's like, I'm just upset you didn't reach out. I do think that's extremely weak, but I'm saying it was addressed, what you're saying.
You're right. Yeah. And I'll be fair. I just need to preface this. I was texting you 45 minutes into this movie. I was ready to be done. Okay. Like I was struggling. Like I would like pick up my phone and be like, shit, I need to be watching this. And then like 2 seconds later, I've got my phone again. And I'm like, this is not engaging me at all. And I think honestly, even you're talking about that. And I feel like one of the things that Zach does in this movie definitely does is it tries to rush a bunch of high energy emotional investment and squeeze it in real quick to these montagey flashbacks and be like, oh, now you should feel this like really big emotion for this character when and it feels so rushed. And it feels, I think in that way, it feels a lot, almost like extra contrived. Obviously any emotion in the movie is contrived, but like, it just feels like poking, like I think even just the montage style, right? Like we're going to cut out all the unnecessary moments, right? We're going to get cut to like the most pivotal parts of this scene and just jump cut around to it. It just feels rushed. It just feels like, all right, here's the shot of him, killing the wife. Here's the shot of the daughter crying, him crying. And it's just this montage. And then it's got this swell of music, the music cues we can get to again, because they are frequent and similar, more picking guitar with like more like guitar ballads while everyone's gearing up for war kind of shit, but yeah, I think it just feels like it rushes over it so quick and expects me to be invested because it showed me the character crying and holding his dead wife. You know what I'm saying? Without me really even knowing who Dave Bautista's character is at this point. Like we get that big, long, like graphic intro of the movie where, and we get him like killing shit and protecting his daughter. And then like his friend gets killed and gets crushed by that giant, like, crate or whatever. And it's like, I just feel like it doesn't ever take a moment and like, let's have a scene where all we're doing is getting to know Dave in like Scott Ward, getting to know him in a way that's just like, I want to connect with him for a moment. Like I need that pet the puppy moment or something. And it just feels like it wants to rush over that and get to like oh, my heart. Oh, wow. What a tragic character that's been so hurt and hard and everything's hard. And now he's trying to do this one last thing and you're right. It does address the whole, like, he's not mad about it. Why would he think money would help? Like, I know he's saying like, oh, that you can like take care of all these people. You know what I mean? Like you'll just be able to help all these people that you're trying to help. Money helps, right? Like his motivation feels so flimsy for that to me. I just wish he'd have been like, I want the money, so I'm gonna do this job because I want some money. I don't know. Sorry.
Everyone, Daniel didn't like the movie. That's Daniel's unbridged segment of the podcast. Okay, well, let's back up. I want to push back a little bit on you.
Okay.
I think this being let's just say, zombie movie and also an action film set in Las Vegas with also a heist thrown in gives it some liberties to not have to invest so much in character. I think its hangups is a few things. One, it's 2 hours and 28 minutes.
A long ass movie.
It's hard for an action movie to be that long. It's really hard. It's really hard for a horror film to be that long. And I'm okay with long movies.
And they haven't started. An hour in the movie, they haven't left to start the heist. They're still building the team up and having gun montages where they just shoot stuff for 5 minutes to high action music.
Well, I think that it's hard when you have a certain expectation of genre, and Zach he definitely got it with Zack Snyder's Justice League, almost unheard of, not oversight, undersight, in completing that. I mean, and granted, he had to endure the opposite first, but in this movie, they really probably gave him almost all creative control. I don't imagine they gave him, especially after everyone knew, even in Hollywood, what happened to him. So they hired him knowing what he just went through before the Snyder Cut was ever greenlit. So they were probably definitely like, we're going to give this man what he wants, And
I assume Zach's not going to take projects unless he has a pretty large blank check in most areas, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that kind of lends itself to some of the issues, is that Zach is he's prone to telling these long stories, and sometimes oversight is a good thing. Weirdly enough, all the movies he makes, the best version of those are the ones that end up being the director's cut that comes out later, typically.
But what's the example? Justice League and Batman vs Superman?
No, well, I was gonna say Watchmen and BVS, or the versions of those are much better than the theatrical cut. So it's kind of weird to me that I wonder what we would have got if this had more oversight, where he had to shave off 20, 30 more minutes. And maybe there was some that we just don't know about.
I think he may have tried to give them a 3.5 hour movie.
He may have. Weirdly enough, I think Netflix would have been okay with that.
Probably.
Because they have untapped money, and they can do whatever they want. Anyway, let's get back. Let's get back to exactly. Let's get back to the movie for a second itself. The opening, I think, also kind of lends itself to some of your criticisms, though. I mean, the opening is this really weird conversation that sounds like the worst way ever to give exposition. It's not even bad exposition. It's just that the guy's like, no, you're going to make me say it. Like, the way it's like, it's not good.
The conversation wasn't well acted. Like, the performances I did not like. They were just,
and maybe it's not the dialogue. Yeah. Yeah, but my point is, it was,
but I think it was, the dialogue was not, that's not an interesting way to we all know it's a zombie film. I don't think we even need that, for one. If you're sitting down to Army of the Dead, we don't need to be baited into a zombie.
Well, here's what I think. Again, I said that to say this. It leads up to the idea that they're carrying something that's either alien or something that's a zombie. We still don't even know if it's aliens or not. And it sounded like the thing that they captured. Yeah. It sounds like whatever's in the trunk or whatever's in the vehicle, it sounds like it comes from Area 51, or at least the experiments did, or something.
Well, from my understanding, it was like a genetically engineered, the government made it as a weapon. That's what I was kind of understanding.
Maybe
this is basically a biological weapon, but not, or something. Right. Just basically from their, and as horrible as the conversation is, it did the job of basically explaining the government, this is the government's property or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was now once the zombie got out of the crate and with the action started, it was fine.
it's fine.
I mean, it wasn't like it had that interest. Like the goriest part was when he like pulled that guy's jaw off.
Right.
But
he nonchalantly pulls it down. It's not like a jerk.
Yeah.
It's just like he's so strong. He just can like pull it slowly off. But
yes, I did think that I hated the part though when like the two soldiers thought they got away, and they're like, "Oh, he got away," and then he slips and it's like, and it's just just dumb, man.
Well, that's my thing is that this scene really does kind of set the tone in a lot of ways, where it's just like they don't give a fuck. Like Zach doesn't give a fuck. That's what I'm trying to say. And maybe we might be, and I went into it thinking exactly what it was, but even then I come out with criticism, but maybe they made the movie that they intended to make where they don't give a fuck. You're watching people with guns and zombies and they're trying to do some new stuff. And if they fail, they fail, but hey, they all got paid for it. It's Netflix. It doesn't matter. And I respect that. But I do think that there is some weird stuff. Okay. We can do this plot really quick. Really quick. I mean, really quick. They take the job. They decide to go to Las Vegas before the nuke goes off to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Batista runs into his daughter, who's at the border, who's basically worried about these two children who their mother had went in previously, and she's now lost. And the daughter's like, I'm going to come with you. Batista's like, no, which is also bad.
It's classic family like conflict in an action danger. Like it's cookie cutter, but in a way that it is boring. It is just like,
well, what's bad about it is that the decision she makes, and it's just a bad plot also. Like it ends up being a bad plot that it ended up doing something to the end that I don't like, which is they killed Batista off.
Yes.
which is why I don't like it.
But also it's just like, why didn't I just, it's just like those moments in movies you're like, won't tell us, just say like, how would you be helpful in this situation? Look at all of us, our giant muscles and our guns. What are you going to add to the scenario to make this more successful? And just be like, no, you're staying here. You know, I agree. It was one of those things that you knew was going to happen.
Right.
Like as soon as they like first conversation, like he tells her I'm going here, you know, she's going to be there somehow.
Right.
Because it's going to give Dave the motivation he needs later for something in the plot, which it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It was just, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're fine. I think you're right. I think it wasn't very good. And here's the thing. So they go inside. There's obviously
find a zombie tiger.
They find a zombie tiger. They find zombies. There's obviously one of the group who is working for nefarious reasons. There's other people who would betray others for whatever reason.
And they do this whole, I mean, the alphas thing is definitely, I didn't know that was of things that surprised me. That was one thing where I didn't know what they were going to do there.
That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Is that there are seemingly, at least from the first zombie we see in the beginning that breaks out, he is the alpha of this group. So like, it's almost like a hive mind. So they have any hierarchy in nature. There's the lead zombie. Sometimes there can be a queen zombie, which we do have. And there's other ones, and they can kind of control, and they're faster, stronger. They can kind of control the really slow zombies, right? Which is, I think, great because we've had different tier of zombies throughout movie cinema. We have obviously the George Romero Dawn of the Dead ones and the Zach Snyder ones. And then we end up going to like the World War Z super fast. We can climb over top of each other zombies.
We're like, these aren't kind of like I Am Legend a little bit, like that they've developed some sort of culture and like norms and or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I did
everything.
I did like that little moment in the beginning montage for whatever cluster that was when he does like come up and looks at that like statue of Zeus, I think. And like, and you look in his eyes and like he's just like, he's obviously having some sort of complex thought that isn't like eat brains. So there was a little foreshadowing there, but I generally enjoyed that they weren't just,
I did too.
To
me, it almost made it not a zombie movie. It made a monster movie, like almost, which are different, I think. But that being said, it's really easy, right? They go in to get through the vault. Someone has to go to the helicopter. They have to fight the zombies off. And when it's all said and done, only a few make it out. And what's really all said and done, basically nobody makes it out almost except for the daughter.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Right.
Then, of course, they're set up for a sequel, which we can get to in a second. That's the things I like, though. I like the idea that the zombies are hibernating. I like the idea of the hive mind and the kings. Because to me, when you start giving like a king and a queen, you start putting it like it's harder for like a horde of evil to like. It's hard to pinpoint the bad guy in the situation because it's more about the bad guy. Typically, like in The Walking Dead, is everybody else and not the zombies, which I'm
the
bored
humans
of.
are the Walking Dead.
It is, and X, Y, and Z. But to me, what's more interesting and just I think more fun from an action perspective is giving the evil a bad guy, a boss battle.
I like having an antagonist zombie, a single antagonist zombie, and I think. Obviously they're doing something. I mean, this is building up into some sort of Zach Snyder zombieverse of some sort.
Right.
That's just a much more interesting world where they aren't just zombies in the most traditional, like zombified, walking around, just eating brains. And also, I mean, the plot needed it. I mean, the fact is, and this is, maybe like the whole, the heist part of the plot wasn't enough on its own, right? I think it wasn't going to be interesting enough just to be a heist. I like that they were able to find an interesting way to get the zombies in there that wasn't just, oh no, there's a lot of zombies between us and the heist money. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think, no, you're right. And I think it definitely needed something more. And I will say this, I'm trying to think. I think we kind of covered the plot for the most part. Here's a few of the things
besides the final moments.
Yeah, sure. Okay. The final moment, they get out. I like the end where Batista has to fight the main king zombie. Great stuff. That's all great to me. Yeah. He has to fight him. They get in an helicopter. I love how he kills him. I love all this stuff. I don't like it that Batista ends up being bit, which I hate, which obviously as I was watching, I was like, Jesus Christ, they're just trying to make it where she has to kill him. If we really wanted to make sure she understood the situation, she now has to kill her father. That way she understands what her father went through so they can completely bridge the gap. And I'm like,
so now she can forgive him now that he's dead.
Exactly. And I'm like, man, like to me, Batista was the reason why I'd ever want to watch this franchise. Cause I'm like, give him a franchise, give him a cool movies that I'll come back and watch him for.
I was honestly very surprised that they did that just because of that reason. Like I was assuming that this was going to be like a Bautista thing. Going forward. And it's like, I have no desire to watch that daughter actor in anything. Ever. I don't care. I'm glad that once one guy went to Mexico City or whatever, man, fuck the world, Like,
that was my next thing. As soon as he gets trapped, and I know we're bouncing around viewers, we're assuming you've already watched the movie. As soon as he got trapped inside the vault, we all collectively looked at each other and said, well, he's going to survive the movie. That's probably the best place to be once the nuke goes off. And we were right. And we were even debating, is there radiation? Could he survive it? And I think it was even touched upon in the movie at one point. There's no radiation fallout. So after he comes out of the wreckage, you're like, yeah, I like that guy. Cool. He can be in the sequel. At least there's a saving grace. And it turns out he was fucking bit. And then it's like, well, that sets up your sequel. And it's like, you could have set it up any other way, but you had to do it this way. And like, you killed all the cool characters in the movie. And it's like, I just don't care anymore. Like, granted, you can get some actor I like. And I'll be like, okay, I'll watch it now. But it's like, what the benefit of like any type of sequel or shared universe is the idea that you follow a character and you watch them grow and do cool stuff and you keep adding to it. Like you don't have to, I get it, but like, why not? I mean, if you have that ability, then
I guess because Dave didn't want to, maybe.
Why would he not want to? I mean, maybe
because he still wants Gears of War.
Possibly. I mean, he turned down Suicide Squad for this. He's openly said that. He turned down the Suicide Squad for this movie.
The James Gunn one?
Yeah. I know. Interesting, right? And it's because he wanted to be a leading man. Like he wanted to be like the main guy and not part of it. Like he's still in an ensemble, but not so much as some of the other ones.
No, I mean, he was the main dude. He was the leader.
Absolutely.
Of the group,
Yeah. Okay. And let's talk about a few other things, like the actual filmmaking of it. So one thing I counted on was like, well, if all else fails, Zach is good, at least with action and staging action and X, Y, and Z. Like, even though I wouldn't do it this way in Justice League, at least it looks pretty in some places. You know, I still think there's other ways of doing it. But you can't deny Batman in the warehouse scene is incredible in BVS. You can't deny like almost every action sequence in Sucker Punch is incredible. Watchmen's of, you know, I think amazing visually. 300's incredible action wise. Yeah, he doesn't do much in this one action wise, and I think part of that is the fact that he's a cinematographer in this one as well as
I noticed that in the credits, which also the opening credits, that just like thin pink font looked like a student film. Like when those credits were up, I was like,
and they're slightly separated, like across the screen, like
and they just were like this generic, no shadow, just pink, and a normal. It just was like these feel like underproduced credits to the point that it feels low budget.
Well, it felt so much like we're trying to be so different. It's almost like that thing. You try to be so different, you end up going back to like basics of like student film stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a line there, and they went all the way back to the genesis of their career. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing. It's I get it, you know, but I wouldn't have done it either. I definitely would have done it.
No, I agree. It was a lot of shooting. You know what I mean? It was a lot of like gunplay and like
and quick cuts and like, I mean, there was some slow-mo stuff
tight behind the, you know, like Saving Private Ryan style war shot, like, you know, following, and it just it adds to the energy, but it's never something that's that fun to look at. You know, like,
I just thought like every movie he's ever done besides this one, like, was at least pretty good. This one just doesn't stick out to me in any way. Like,
no, it feels like a lot of it feels almost a little phoned in some areas, but like.
And you know, I think
comfortable.
Right.
Maybe a better way of saying that is it feels like maybe Zach has like been doing some of these style of things so long now, I think over 10 years in like major cinematic movies, that almost probably 15 actually, or 20, that it just feels a little bit tired, I guess, or like we've seen that but better in his other work. Like everything I feel like I was seeing was like, yeah, but you've done better. Yeah, but you've done better. Yeah, but
I think part of it is the fact that he was the cinematographer. There's something to be said that when you don't have to hold the camera yourself,
and it was so much handheld. That meant, I mean, maybe he wasn't camera op, but
no, he camera opped quite a bit of it. I've seen so many photos of him. He said that he's holding the camera. He's like right there with them acting, and he gets to like, you know, be more intimate with them, X, Y, and Z. And I've done that before. And
sure,
I will say
it can
this,
be a good
like,
thing.
Well, I'll say this, like, yes, as the director, the writer, the cinematographer, I know what shots I want. Yeah, but also it is so draining to be all those hats at once. I can only imagine being on a movie of this size. Yeah, that, like, the action had to suffer. Like trying to do the camera setups and to have it blocked out and to wear all those hats, it like something suffered. And I think is the staging and the visualization of the action suffered from it.
On as complex and cast heavy of a movie as this, I completely agree. I think you can do those kind of director and the actor and the camera shooting, but usually it's like one of those like quiet, intimate scenes where the camera's like on sticks, or like, you know what I mean? Where you just like strip it down to like try to get those intimate moments out of an actor. Like this just felt like, I mean, the film is busy. I'll give it that. It doesn't really stop going. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like, even if it's not doing something, it feels like we're going and doing something. You know what I mean? Like, it just, we're either cutting between a shit ton of characters that I can't keep up with by the time we see them again, or it's just, again, more action, like bullets shooting, lots of high energy music, montage scenes. So yeah, I can't imagine trying to DP all of that. And I'm sure there was I'm sure there was a second unit crew that did some of the other things. But just, even if he was just the DP with all like the main cast stuff, that's just it's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot of work to manage.
For anybody, especially someone who's 50.
That's a lot if you're just the DP and just the director. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And
I'll say this too, like, you know, like there's even articles like ahead of time, like, hey, don't worry if your screen's blurry in Army of the Dead. It's not TV. It's just the way Zach shot it. And I'm like, do we need articles like this, people? Well, he shot it with a shallow depth of field and these old vintage lenses that were repurposed for cameras.
Where did I see
And
someone
so-
said like the vintage lens he used on it, or was it?
Sure, I don't
someone
know. I don't
mentioned
know.
that.
But my point is, like, I will say that he has been a fan of these lenses, like that was used for the nightmare sequence and Justice League, which is also why that sequence looks so much different than the rest of the movie, which I think
the
is a
new
bad thing.
the new nightmare sequence, the one that's most recent.
Yeah. And so that's why it looks so different. And then another thing is, I think it might even been intentional, because if you have shallow depth of field like that, you don't have to be as intentional with your staging. Like you can be the DP, and you can like
just
be
go
up
over
in
there.
their face. Yeah, and you can cut anything. You can cut to anything at that point if only if one actor's face is in focus. You know what I'm saying?
And I do think there was just I think I expected the budget to feel a little bigger in this movie. Like even some of the sets, they were like I remember the one set towards the beginning of the movie where they got the classic Las Vegas like sign like hanging over on one side.
Yeah,
characters are like it looks good, but it looks like good in a way that like they didn't have enough, so they're trying to do a lot with a little.
Yeah,
almost. And I
It
think
says
even like
here-
the handheld style feels that a little way too.
it says here that it has a $90 million budget, which I think is kind of. I think it is. I think it's pretty good. Oh yeah, I think for especially towards the end, it's that they did. I think they used it fairly well.
Mostly at the end, mostly for the zombies and the end stuff for sure.
Yeah,
I would think a lot of that budget went to, and probably I bet Dave costed a pretty little penny.
Yeah, but not that much. I do think that the zombie tiger was a letdown because it just didn't look very good.
Yeah.
It looked like like the tiger on The Walking Dead, not to compare it to another zombie thing, but it looks really good comparatively.
But it's also not a zombified tiger, so.
Yeah, but you would think that you could make it look even better than.
Were there any other zombified animals?
Not that I remember.
So maybe just tigers can get zombified.
I will say that maybe, yeah. Well, to be fair,
where's the zombie birds? Where's the zombie squirrels, Zach?
I mean, a tiger, it being literally the head of the animal kingdom, it would kill all the other ones and be the only one left. So that it was animal.
But zombies don't eat each other.
But it could have ate all the other animals.
Every single one.
I don't know, Daniel. I'm defending him.
I'm shitting.
I guess because I'm wearing the fucking hat. I have no idea why.
I'm picking out a stupid detail. I'm being a cinema sin guy.
I will say this. We'll wrap up here in a second, but I think I would have leaned more into. I would have made the movie about 45 minutes shorter. I would have had more stylized action that was memorable.
Yes.
And I would have leaned into the heist aspect of it. Like I think it's such a great idea. I think you mentioned Ocean's 11. I didn't even think about it. I must be just fucking out of my mind lately, but that's a great comparison, because one thing that Ocean's does, like all great heist movies are great, even the movie like Sting with Robert Redford, is they show you the plot, and they kind of did that at some point in the movie, but then they show you what's going to happen. They just tell you what's actually going to happen, but then they show you like, oh, wait a minute, here was the other parts of the plan that you didn't see. And maybe that would have been kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe in a zombie movie to see I don't know. Maybe there's a way of doing that, but
right. No, I agree with you.
Generic,
I agree. I think they should have made this much more hype. For one, I agree. 45 minutes need to be gone from this movie, and 30 of those need to happen in the beginning, probably. We need to get to the heist part way before 45 minutes in. Like we need to be at the heist by then, probably. You know what I mean? I completely agree. I think if they had.
Not to cut you off. Wasn't it weird to you that you see like all these members of the team fighting in the zombie apocalypse in the beginning, and then like it cuts to I was like, oh wait, are we in the middle of the heist already? And then it turns out they were actually part of something ahead of time, and then they all stopped, and I was just like, because they all looked like
it was
the
a
same.
very weird exposition thing. Like when he pick up with Dave and he's like the fry cook or whatever. Yeah, it just feels like.
I mean, you didn't need them. You could have just cut. You could have cut the part. You could have just started with Dave being a fry cook and he was in the military. And
exactly.
he had already dealt with some of these zombies. We don't need to see that.
Or
funny enough, we don't need to see that part.
I mean,
You hype up how badass he is.
An even easier in. I mean, well, I guess you want the guy that's like coming to them to recruit them to the team, right? Like, so that's their into the heist part. I agree. I think even what works about the Ocean's movies is none of those characters are that fleshed out either. Like they don't like, we know that Danny Ocean wants his wife back. That's about it. They
don't have to.
We know
that's
that
the beauty of it.
We know that Brad Pitt's character likes to eat.
Yeah.
That might be, you know what I'm saying? Like you just make these characters. God, I'm sorry, I'm all blown out again.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, you're right.
Three listeners.
You need to. Hey, listeners, you need to take, dumb it down a bit, Zach. Like that feels a little bit mean, but it's always like, yeah, dumb this down. You have that opening scene where we figure out the zombies took over Las Vegas. Fine. Let's jump around and just introduce these little characters. And then even the way that like Dave Bautista went around and recruited the other ones, I hated it. Like when he's like looking at the dude on YouTube that's like capping 3 zombies in a row. And I'm like, would YouTube still exist? I mean, maybe like it just feels like a really random, weird thing. He goes to the chick. What's her name? Her name's Tig Notaro. She was the one that was digitally added, which we'll probably talk about.
I do want to talk about.
There was no chemistry there. They kept referring to her as a he. In the conversation.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I was like, a girl can be a buddy.
Dave's last line was completely ADR'd. Like his lips do not match up to anything he says that last line. And so just the way, and even like, so when they go get the fucking the safe cracker, like I feel like they're trying to make him be this like weird eccentric, like, oh yeah, he's the weird smart guy that's kind of eccentric and not good in a fight, but he's gonna get it. But he just doesn't work for me. He's not funny. His funny things aren't funny to me.
No,
and he just
I will
feels
say
awkward, and like you walked into a random ass store and what town are we in, by the way? Like somewhere else in Nevada? I don't know. And you just pick this guy. It just, you know what I mean? Like with Oceans, it's like, let's find this guy. He's the best motherfucker that does this, and this. You know what I mean? Like they're putting together the best team in the world. And this feels like who's on the street, who's on the corner today? Let's see if they want to go heist something. But it's acting as if these guys are like the top of the line, best of the best.
You mentioned his name is, according to Wikipedia, his name is Ludwig, the German safecracker. And I thought that him and Vanderho, who is the guy who ends up surviving at the end until he doesn't, I thought their relationship was the most interesting because it was kind of like this, I'm going to protect you. You can't really protect yourself. Yeah. And I kind of felt the most connection at all with those two characters because of that relationship.
Once they got into it, I agree. They were they had some good chemistry. I just hated the way he was recruited. The whole conversation.
I understand.
And just all that, it started me on a bad foot with him as a character. But I agree. They did actually get some chemistry. And even like Vandero, what was he doing when they like pick him up? He's working at an old folks home and like helping old ladies.
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Like his
but I will say,
you
have Tanaka in it, and Tanaka is the guy who recruits him, who is and who is Scorpion again. Everybody, if you haven't seen Mortal Kombat, go check it out and check it out.
Hiroyuki Sanada. That's his,
there you go. He's great. He's a great actor in general, and he's in it very little. He's like probably the biggest. He's probably a bigger actor, at least more actually worldwide known, like at least in China and stuff, than Batista is, and he's like very small role and like. Okay. The line easy peasy Japanesey. I guess he's Japanese. I said Chinese. Japanesey.
Oh my god.
And then I was just like
cringe. The whole conversation, the cringe.
I was literally like, oh my god, like this is bad. And like
it's like Zach trying to make a funny joke about like woke culture. Which everyone wants to make a joke about woke culture now. Which
that's the cool thing. It's the woke thing. Yeah.
Well, it's like anti-woke. It's like this like meta woke to make fun of woke people. You know what I mean? Where you're like so woke that you're like still dreaming, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree. You're
it
right.
was just so cringe. It was so cringe. I was just the whole scene. I was because
Right.
that girl. She's like, oh no, yeah, he can say that because he's. Oh.
He said he was, but I'm Japanese. Yeah, and he's right. Anyway, I don't know. So I was just.
It's bad. It's just
saying,
bad.
the point was it was just a bad moment. I don't even know what you're talking about. I just interrupted you to say that.
I have never heard that saying with that word.
I haven't either.
Ever. And I do not believe it's ever existed. I think they made that fucking up for that show.
I don't think it is either. I think it's 100% made up for the movie. And yeah,
like, everyone's like,
there's no way.
Everyone says lemon squeezy. Like everyone.
Yeah.
It's easy as squeezing lemons.
Yeah,
like that's the whole like background, like easier than making lemonade.
Well, maybe I'll get in trouble. I'll say my new favorite version of that is easy peasy Japanesey.
Oh my God.
I would never say it because that's how bad it is. It's just bad.
It's not only bad. It's just it's not funny. Even if it's just like, oh yeah, let's make a joke that's kind of borderline. It's not funny.
It's not funny, and it could be like if I started saying that could be offensive. Like to somebody, I'm sure.
That. You can't start saying that.
I'm not going to. My point is like it's.
Yes, it would be very offensive.
That's what I'm saying. Like but
they tried to play it off because he's. Well, I mean, they tried to play it off by the whole time, like he's Japanese, so he's allowed. But it's just you took.
That's how you make
2
it.
minutes
that's how you
out of a bloated film and devote it to this.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, I know.
Like. Let's think about our life choices, Zach.
I know. I got a question here, real quick. What would? I'm sure there's 1,000 things we're missing, but we kind of starting to wrap it up. What do you need in probably the inevitable sequel that we're going to get? What do you need out of this to come back?
I need to figure out what actor is going to be involved. Because if there's no one but the daughter, I'm probably just not. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably.
It has to be more than that.
No.
What if they got Henry Cavill to come in as a soldier?
That would be weird.
The new Netflix White Knight. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's what they need to do in the next one: make a better movie, tell a better story, have a better writing, better cinematography, and better acting. So
you just didn't like the cinematography overall?
No, I didn't feel like it added to it. I feel like the moments that it made sense were like. In the beginning with the Marines and any of the fight scene, like the moments where they're running through different places, shooting different places, like it added something there just in terms of energy. But again, It's kind of that cheap it's kind of like, this is kind of the easiest way to accomplish that. You know what I mean? Excuse me. No. And I think maybe because I've watched a lot of Zach Snyder recently, I'm getting a little tired of that heavy of handheld style, that tight, that much movement, that kind of stuff. It just felt uninteresting to me. Yeah, I mean, streamline it. That to me, there's a bloated problem with this movie. There's too many characters. I don't have time to get to know any of the ones that I like well enough, and I don't care about the ones I don't like. There's just too many people to keep track of. You don't need that many people to do a heist in a zombie infested casino or whatever.
Yeah.
Get to the point quicker. I mean, it is really just like stop. It feels like Zach just allowed himself to kind of just
stop making movies,
elaborate on anything he wanted. He's like, you know what? I'm going to make this scene
the solution
longer. And then he did. Yeah.
I've got the solution here. You ready for this?
I am.
Okay. And here's something that I think it might be the most interesting part of the whole movie, actually, outside the zombies, outside all this other stuff, is the scene where, what's his name? I don't remember. I just said his name a minute. Vanderhoof. The scene where Vanderhoof says in the vault, "Look at these people. These people are us, but from a different timeline." And it's like there's this meta thing here about. And what's weird about it is Zach has commented on it, like, yeah, it is quite strange how similar those bodies are to the people who are actually doing the heist, X, Y, and Z, and who knows how many times they've done it until they succeed and all this other stuff. And it's like, man, like maybe maybe the sequel is this weird. Maybe that's why Batista said it was okay to die. But maybe he's going to come back and they're going to get a second run at it and kind of find out that they're doing a heist in a time loop in a zombie apocalypse. And if they don't do the heist perfectly, then the zombie will get out and break into Mexico and the whole world will die. So that's where you kind of set the stakes up, where it's not only now robbing a bank, but you got to save the world through this heist. You know, like
that's
maybe
really
that's
interesting.
the idea.
That's a really interesting idea. That I love the idea of,
and I'm extrapolating.
starting as time travel.
That hasn't been said.
I love the idea of like kind of beginning a time travel plot, I guess, because I'm sure there'd be a third or whatever that total theory is, but you don't reveal it till the second film.
That'd be great.
That's really interesting. And I think that, like, because again, the second film, like what you're describing, is where we always start, right? Like typically that movie starts with them failing in the very beginning of the movie, right? But yeah, that would be interesting. That would be cool. I mean, that would fix your problem with Dead Dave, and also answer your question about why he would turn down like Suicide Squad to be in one film with Zach,
right? And then also, even if you connected a little bit with these characters, it would actually you've done some of the legwork already. Sure. And if these people come back, at least you would have some inclination of who they are.
Now, don't get me wrong. Even if that's true, this could have been a much better setup.
100%. As I say, if this is the route they went or they go or whatever, that the first movie really needed you to care about these characters. Then that way, when you get a second chance with them, you're like, man, I really don't want this to fuck up.
Like I should have been like, I mean, I was bummed that Bautista died, or kind of like, okay, it's one of those endings kind of thing.
Yeah, it's exactly how I felt.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, I guess probably because of the movie, I was like, well, makes sense. I mean, like it wasn't good. Like I wouldn't have really been interested in the sequel right now. Like if I'm gauging myself in this moment anyway. But yeah, like I love that idea, and I go for it, Zach. Let's see what you got.
Hey, if they go the time travel zombie heist,
prove me wrong. Yes, time travel zombie heist movie. It's perfect. Yeah. Academy Award winner right there. At least for the script.
I'm definitely in. To me, I'm like, because if they do a sequel and they don't do another heist, I'm like, kind of like your hook of the friend. To me, the hook, what makes this cool is gone. I don't know. Yeah. And granted, the cool thing is the hive mind, but to me, I think it's more the it's like those unique. And no, but I'm saying like it is for like a blockbuster zombie movie, but I'm saying like, like to me, the heist part is what kind of gives it some type of, I don't know, it gives it a different flavor to me. Yeah.
It is what's unique about and it's even, it's just like when you say that, oh yeah, zombie heist movie, it's just like one of those like,
it feels good.
Perfect action film like concept.
Yeah.
Like just,
it is
like a good hard hitting by the numbers action flick with good gore and zombie, you know what I mean? Like,
it sounds hard to fuck up, but it can happen apparently.
Now, can I ask you? You're pretty tapped into the Snyder community. What is it? I mean, are they kissing his feet?
What do you think is? I mean,
I think they're on their knees. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're sucking some zombie dick is what's happening. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, and I figured.
Yeah. And more power to him if that's what they want.
Zach will always have an audience for his movies. Someday that audience may only fill up one theater, but he'll always have them.
Well, I think that's another reason. No, I mean that's another reason why. I mean, Netflix is a great place for him is that you have such a loyal fan. Like those people will never unsubscribe from Netflix.
Yep.
Correct. Who's gonna unsubscribe right now anyway? But at least you're always gonna generate a conversation. You're always gonna have people fucking tweeting for you. Every month, restore the army verse. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't make a sequel, like you're going to be part of the zeitgeist in some form. Some fucking article is going to write about you. Yeah. It makes sense. I don't know why they would never not keep making them. If it costs them $90 to keep in the fucking news outlet every year, like for hardcore for 3 months a year, that's like a pretty cheap price for them.
Zach Snyder is a perfect streaming director.
100%.
Like he is a perfect one. Like Netflix needs to like get a lifetime contract with him, kind of thing. Like that would make a ton of sense for these kinds of directors. And To be fair, Army of the Dead is still a hell of a lot better than a lot of Netflix original movies. And
it is. And
then the production value, the cast, and for all my problems with it, it's still better than like that last Sandra Bullock. Where was that? Was it? No, it wasn't. It was the what was it? It was that weird driving movie, I think. Maybe it was Sandra Bullock in it. It was like slightly high profile Netflix original. I think it came out last year, but it was like really bad. Or that Jamie Foxx one with the super Power. Yeah.
Well, they just had one drop a couple of weeks, or like last week, The Woman in the Window. It's not good. It's straight up. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's like someone like watched Rear Window and then they drunkenly made a movie. It's really weird.
It's weird how Netflix they're good with series.
They can nail series.
They have not found the magic with features.
Now, Triple Frontier I think probably their best one. It's pretty good.
What is it?
Triple Frontier. And weirdly enough, I haven't seen all of Extraction, which Chris
better than The Irishman, because technically The Irishman is a Netflix original.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't super on The Irishman. Like, I liked it. I did like it.
I still think it's a better made film than anything else.
Oh, well, yeah. I think I obviously have some other hangups in that movie, but yeah, I mean, I'll say this: if Army of the Dead was 45 minutes shorter, I'd watch Army of the Dead almost every time over rewatching The Irishman, just because it's Irishman's so long.
Well, The Irishman's like 3.5 hours. I
know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's
and this is only 45 minutes shorter.
Yeah. To be fair, Joe Pesci in The Irishman is fucking incredible. Like, I watched the movie just
the performances. That movie is a bit of a slog, but the performances are pretty breathtaking.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, maybe that's the best movie.
But that's also
Triple
a movie
Frontier
that,
is really good.
Wasn't that a movie that was like completely done and then they just bought it? Anyway,
basically,
I don't think they produced.
Yeah, it was like a bidding war, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like they may have actually made it. I have to look into it. I'm pretty sure it was bidded on, and then they end up making it. I don't know. I have to look into it.
But overall, Amazon Prime has been much better with features. Much better.
Name 3.
That Casey Affleck one that got Oscar nommed. Arrival.
They made Arrival?
Yeah.
No, they did not.
Look it up.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
I'm pretty
sure. There's no fucking way they made Arrival. Fixing to school you on a podcast, son. Arrival. Gotta find it first before that way I can save face in case you find it before me. 2016. It is not no damn. It made $203 million at the box office. Yeah, they didn't buy no rights to it. I don't even know what you're talking about, dude.
No, there was nothing in here.
Arrival is incredible.
One Night in Miami.
Who knows what that movie is? Is that
One Night in Miami? That's that one that was like a bunch of like African American blues artists, like all were in the same room.
That's recent. Yeah. They have Coming to America, which actually I think might be a better movie than Army of the Dead. And I don't like Coming to America.
Did you watch? Either. Have you seen that? The second one?
Coming to America? Yeah.
Okay.
You watched the night it came out. No, I mean compared to the first one, no.
The Big Sick. The Big Sick is.
That's an Amazon Prime movie.
Manchester by the Sea. That was the Casey Affleck one I was thinking.
That's Amazon Prime.
It's on a list of Amazon Prime.
I don't think you could. Do they? If they premiere in a theater, I don't count that. I mean, like Army of the Dead also premiered in the theater.
Irishman premiered in the theater for Oscars.
Yeah, I mean you're right, and so did Army of the Dead, but it's just different to me. I don't know.
No, I mean it's not a movie made for the streaming platform. Like it's made to be streamed at home. It's a theatrical movie that they bought for. I mean,
Army of the Dead was made to be streamed on the platform.
You're right. It's a bit different.
And then Zach negotiated to have a week in theaters. Like that was not, as far as I understand, not part of the original plan. But Zach is Zach, and he wants theater people. Like to me, like Power is a Netflix movie. Like that movie.
I hear you. If we're gonna. I think you almost have to like maybe this is something we need to do on an episode is like tier out the different levels of content from these different streaming services.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be hard, but yeah,
and then compare it.
Yeah, I'm into it.
But I agree, it's a bit more comparable with like made for streaming, like things that premiered. Yeah.
Now, like example, my favorite movie of the year so far, favorite movie of last year, even like it's like right now there has a movie beat in almost 2 years. It's called Boss Level. It's on Hulu, but it was made before Hulu acquired it. And it was I can't remember who made it, but and there was a bidding war for it, and they made the movie and there's a bidding war, and then Hulu now it's exclusively on Hulu. But I don't count that as a Hulu movie. I count that as a movie that they got the right to stream. Again, that's my favorite. Movie. It's my favorite movie of the year, easily, and it beats Mortal Kombat, it beats King Kong, it beats all these movies. Nothing's touched it yet. But anyway, yeah. The last thing I want to talk about, and this is not really the filmmakers' fault. I mean, they did the best they could, which is Tig Notaro, who I didn't know who the hell she was till Matt told me while I was watching it. Apparently, she's some comedian. You can definitely tell her scenes are reshot just the way they. Yeah, Matt was like, "Yeah, she's a comedian." I'm like, "What? I've never heard of her before." Obviously, they're in a bad situation. I guess the guy's name was D'Elia, and he was accused, or no, he was cut for sexual misconduct allegations, and they reshot her stuff. And there is some.
Oh, it was that. Yeah, it was. He was a comedian too, Chris D'Elia.
Yeah. But anyway, they put her in there, and she's just not that great in the role. I mean, she's okay in some parts, but a lot of parts was like, and then she, obviously her scenes are reshot.
It's like this thing inserted. Of like, I like her look, and I do too. Like when I looked at her, I was like, ooh, she could be a cool character and like maybe a fun, like slightly comic relief, but also like, whatever. Yeah, but she didn't. And I just feel like they didn't use her right. I just feel like her lines were not funny. They came off like very like non-actored, like they came off like read. They felt like read from a script. They didn't feel like a character expressing themselves in this way naturally. And weird, it just the on-screen chemistry. I mean, obviously wasn't there because she was not in the room with any of them. I think it was like I saw an article that Dave Bautista, they haven't even met in person. Her and Dave Bautista have never met in person.
Bet they haven't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope the next one's better, and I guess we are getting a prequel movie, and we're also getting an animated series. Maybe those will kind of flesh out the universe in a positive way. Maybe my dreams will come true, and we'll have a zombie time travel heist movie.
Man, it sounds awesome. I think they should let you do it though, because I think you probably do it better.
I think I'd kill it. Actually,
I do too. I do too. Yeah, I do too.
I think I'd kill it. Well, anyway, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into us at bit.ly/241mail, or you can comment below on any of our links or YouTube channels. But if you write into bit.ly/241mail, that goes straight to our email. We get a nice little notification that says you said something to us. Now, you can say whatever you want, but I'd recommend keeping it on topic. But yeah, let us know. Did you like Army of the Dead? Are we just Zach Snyder hating bitches? You know what I mean? Like what's our deal? What's wrong with us? Please let us know at bit.ly/241mail, or just right on there down in the little comment section.
To be fair, we support Zach Snyder a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like
we've made a lot of content around his content.
Yeah, we have. And also
you might call us symbiotes of Zach Snyder.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a very symbiotic relationship. I've watched Justice League 4 times. I mean, it ain't like I hate the guy or anything. I think he's probably a great guy. It just seems like
our Snyderverse explainer pod. It was for a long time one of our most listened to, most watched pods.
It was,
especially leading up to the Snyder Cut release. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can't hit up our Bitly, I always recommend to subscribe on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/241studios, and leave us a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what your favorite Zack Snyder film is. Let us know if you want to see more about Army of the Dead, if you're going to check out the prequel TV show or prequel movie coming out on Netflix, or the animated series that is happening. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Then we can kind of start a combo on there, and we can kind of see what and other conclusions we come to. Well, Daniel?
Yes.
We did it. Our next podcast may be a little behind because you and I are both going to Dallas pretty soon to go film some stuff.
We are.
So we may have to have a short hiatus, maybe like a week and a half versus a week that we normally do. We will definitely be back to talk more stuff. I know Bad Batch has been happening, and we are gearing up right on the cusp of Loki, and also A Quiet Place Part 2 happens this weekend. So maybe we can Friday. So
Right,
maybe we can catch up on some horror. I mean, we got The Conjuring Part 3 happening. So we got some horror movies apparently happening for some reason. In
reviews looking pretty good on Quiet Place 2. Basically, people saying like it's almost as good as the original, which is pretty fucking high praise, in my opinion. At least it reaches the cusp.
Also getting good reviews as well.
Is it okay? Awesome.
Yeah.
No,
it is weirdly enough.
The world's opening back up. I mean, I will say, you mentioned it. Loki to me is a top 3 thing I'm looking forward to right now. Just everything that comes out of it just looks like I'm going to be glued to the screen for every minute.
While I have you, I mean, fuck it. You know, who cares?
Fuck it. Who cares?
No one's listening to this anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Eternals trailer?
I don't know what to think. It wasn't a lot to think about. I mean, like, it was just, what was that weird? It almost felt like a Zach Snyder trailer with that song over it.
True.
But I can't remember what the song was, but it was one of those.
I don't either.
Little kids singing an old song in a creepy kind of voice thing with no background music.
Right.
It was just, I have nothing to know. The one thing I got anything out of was that final scene where they referenced the Avengers in like present day terms. Like, oh yeah, Tony and Cap are gone. Who's going to lead the Avengers? Like, I'll lead the Avengers. Whoever said that, I don't remember who it was. And I was just like, oh, okay.
It was Rob Stark who said it from Game of Thrones.
And so I was like, oh, okay, so this somehow is like, at least part of this movie takes place in modern MCU era.
Yeah, absolutely does. Yeah, I think the main conflict takes place in present day.
Oh, really?
I think that, yes. I don't know that.
Interesting.
I will say that that line was awful that the kid says.
It was.
I'm hoping that in the context of the scene it comes off better, but that was a really bad line.
I'm hoping it actually isn't in the movie. Like, that's a line that I could see being only in the trailers.
Sure, and it could be,
and they may have been like, we need to make sure people know this is Marvel.
Yeah, and
like,
you're
we
right,
need to say Captain America and Iron Man in this trailer somehow, so they still oh, it is Marvel. Like, I could totally see that just being a marketing decision.
We did see Kit Harington for a second, a brief second, and he is the Black Knight, and he's not an Eternal, so he is, he's a human. Yeah, and so his conflict will be happening in present day. So definitely, I think the movie will be happening majorly. I'm sure it'll be flashbacks and everything else, but I don't know this. I don't know how it's going to work, but
yeah, I did a little reading up on Black Knight, just interesting. It's pretty interesting, I guess, that he led the Avengers before. He's done a lot of stuff.
He's great. He's awesome.
But he also is just kind of a knight in black armor. Like, I was expecting him to have like a lot more like powers or something. Which apparently at one point he becomes like, he bounds himself to a Eternal and he gets some powers from that at one point somehow. I don't know.
The big thing is his weapon, and it's almost like the anti Thor's hammer.
It's like it has a blood curse on it. Basically, like every time it spills blood, he goes more insane, or like it takes over him more or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's some definitely. I think obviously the movie was announced, and they've been making the character bigger and bigger in the comics lately.
Yeah,
there's some really cool things happening with him, and I mean, he has had the regular sword. He's had a lightsaber at one point. He's had other things like that. So I could see it being Marvel's lightsaber if they went that route at some point, which I think they
eventually
could. I don't know if they will, but
yeah, I mean, it's still funny to this movie that it's like, hey, let's just get the actors from Game of Thrones and make a movie that kind of feels like Game of Thrones, but it's still Marvel. Yeah, like their costumes. Yeah, I mean,
solid pitch though. Oh,
it is. No, and it's like, well, it'll probably work knowing Marvel. At least with their track record. But I'm actually, I mean, I like the cast a lot. I mean, I love Kumail Nanjiani. I can't wait to see how stupid, really ripped he is and what his character does.
His character apparently is a Bollywood movie star. That's why they actually have a dance number in the movie, and it's
cool.
gonna be him.
That's gonna be awesome.
That's
gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so a Marvel Bollywood dance number. I'm so in for that.
I can't wait for that. That sounds amazing. But yeah, I mean, like, the cast is like, they've got the cast, and I'm already interested because I know there's actors I love there. Yeah. I'm really interested in Kit Harington's Black Knight. I mean, I'm interested in seeing Kit Harington in anything else. Like what he was too. Like, I've barely seen him in anything except Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't think of anything else he's been in. Nothing that's made like headlines.
He's in the movie Pompeii. Don't you know
I
your
didn't see
movie
that.
history? Yeah,
Didn't
it's not
see
good.
that.
Yeah, it's not good at all. But my point is that yes, to me too, Kit Harington in a Marvel, like I was like, even when Game of Thrones was happening, I was like, man, he needs to be in a Marvel movie.
And even so, I mean, I
And-
think Rob Stark, like, I was gutted at the Red Wedding. You know what I mean? Like, he was like one of my favorite
I
characters
was
of that
too.
whole shit.
He's great.
And he's such a good actor. He's such a good actor.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
No, I'm excited
He's
for
been
him.
in more stuff since.
Yeah, he
Like,
has.
he's been in way more than Kit has.
Yeah, he was in. I think Bohemian Rhapsody is one of their managers. I think.
Yeah. Well, he was. Yes, he definitely wasn't. Or was it Rocket Man? It was one
Maybe
of those.
it's one of the two. They both are about singers that I don't know too much about.
That's true. That's true. Okay, that's good.
What's so funny?
That sentence that you said.
Yeah,
The words that you aligned in order.
I was trying really hard. Anyway, Daniel, it was a pleasure talking to you. I'll talk to you fairly soon. And my name is Donovan Thompson.
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
And we have spoken.